We do not have anything to report out. Let me read our public comment announcement. So individuals may address the board on agenda items, both in closed session and regular session agenda during public participation and or at any time they are under consideration. By completing the form provided on the table at the entrance and then providing that to Anna this evening. There's some pink forms over there if you want to speak. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers may be chosen in random order. Each person may speak only once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium to make sure that our public can hear you on the TV. So public comment cannot be accepted or acted upon or discussed by the board unless placed on an agenda at a subsequent meeting in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request that staff respond orally at the meeting or in writing at a future time. A total of 20 minutes for public comment per topic will be allowed. And so remember, this meeting is televised and broadcast on the YouTube channel. Okay, so do we have anybody that needs to fill out a form or sign or? Nope. Okay. All right, so welcome. We are over here. So is there any public participation on non-agenda items? No papers, Anna? Nothing? Okay.
I just have to publicly state, I am so excited to see so many people in our audience.
For a summer meeting.
Oh, this is thrilling.
Okay.
So thank you all for being here. That's the point.
Thank you. And so we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there anything we need to move or table? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the patriotic exercise by Trustee Schneider.
All right, well, good evening. I tasked my kids, even though it's summer, to help me with this. Didn't make them come and present it, though, so they appreciate that. But it is Flag Week. Every second week of June is Flag Week, and tomorrow's actually Flag Day. So I thought I'd take a minute and give a little bit of history on our flag. So on the screen, I just put a couple slides together. The one on the upper right is prior to the making of our union. And then the one on the bottom left is all the flags that we have gone through, I think 27 iterations since the beginning. The lower right is the room in which Betsy Ross made the first flag in her house in Philly. So in 1776, George Washington commissioned Betsy Ross. She was then just a seamstress in Philadelphia to create a flag in anticipation of America's independence. Flag Day, which is tomorrow, June 14th, is the commemoration of adoption of the official flag of the U.S., and it was adopted on June 14th, 1777. The Continental Congress officially adopted the Stars and Stripes after John Adams is quoted saying, "Resolved that the flag of the 13 United States shall be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union shall be 13 stars, white on a blue field, representing a new constellation." There have been 27 official versions of the flag, also known as Old Glory, with the latest one adopted on July 4th, 1960, when Hawaii became the 50th state. The first celebration of Flag Day was in 1894 and was due to the lifetime efforts of Bernard Sigrand, who was a school teacher in Wisconsin. He spent years traveling the country working to get the government to recognize the importance of celebrating the flag. It is not an official federal holiday, but it was officially established and proclaimed by Woodrow Wilson in 1916. In 1949, it was established through an act of Congress. Just a little note, the oldest continuous Flag Day parade has been held in Fairfield, Washington since 1909. Tomorrow is also significant with our California flag. June 14th is also the date for the annual anniversary of the Bear Flag Revolt in California. On June 14th, 1846, 33 American settlers and mountain men arrested the Mexican general in command at Sonoma and declared the Bear Flag Republic on the Pacific Ocean coast as an independent nation. A flag emblazoned with the bear, a red stripe, a star, and the words California Republic was raised to symbolize independence from Mexico of the former province of Alta California. The bear flag was adopted as California's state flag upon joining the Union as the 31st state in 1850. Prominently flying both the USA and state flags on June 14th is a tradition for many people around the state. And there's a little history of the U.S. flag.
All right, so we'll move on to acknowledgements.
Acknowledgements. So thank you to Rossi's Building Materials for a donation of $150 to be used for the 6th grade campout. Seroptimist International of Fort Bragg. Thank you, Seroptimist, for a donation of $150 to be used for the 6th grade campout. The Masonic Lodge Mendocino Lodge, number 179, made a donation of $351 to the education of our children at Redwood Elementary School. Thank you, Masonic Lodge. The Middle School Parents Club donated $1,350 to the 6th grade campout and another $1,350 to the 8th grade field trip. And then we have 2 certificated staff retirements that happened between the May regular board meeting and today. It was a little shocking, but quite lovely for these people who were all completely jealous. Sherry Ackerson is retiring after 12 years in the district. She's been a counselor at the middle school at Alta Ed, and she ended at Redwood and Dana Gray. So congratulations, Sherry, on your retirement. We wish you well. And Irene Heldstab, she started the year before I did in Fort Bragg. So I worked with Irene a lot of years, and she has been in the district for 23 years, and she taught prior to coming to Fort Bragg, so she's going to be enjoying her retirement as well. So congratulations to Sherry Ackerson and Irene Heldstab.
So can I just mention, I did a little math. 293 years is our combined retirement this year, which is a little bit sad to have all of that historical, and loyalty. In this day and age, it's really hard to find loyal and that want to stay here in our beautiful coast, but it's hard living sometimes. But I just want to honor all the retirees for 293 years of experience and service at our district.
Agreed. Thank you.
And now I want to take a moment to acknowledge Nate and Mitchell. They took on this task, or voluntold to take this task, to broadcast our meetings, and not only has it saved the district money, but has given us, I think, a much nicer place to have our meetings. And we have a lot of people. We were just saying that people have said, "Oh, I've been watching you on TV." So even if they're not coming to the meetings, people are still watching from home, and we couldn't do it without you two. So if you two would come up for a quick thank you, and and we have a card, and we're gonna put you on TV.
That's right.
Should probably go to the movie.
I have a microphone, but I won't make them. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
So turn and look at the wave.
Finally, you're on.
There are 2 people watching. That's
Thank you very much for your time and your commitment. We know it's not just it's meeting time, but the hours before and the hours after. So again, we really appreciate it. Okay. All right, so now we open it up for communication that the board has received. I have received a couple things. I usually have you guys start, but I'll start tonight. We received a letter, I think Dana's going to address that, well, yes, we got our second interim letter from the county office, and they were very complimentary that we are working on the reserve, and then very, I won't say stern, but also saying that districts are over, anyway, don't be comfortable, I guess is the main
Right.
thing. Keep doing what we're doing and don't.
The economic horizon is changing rapidly, so be
Yes.
prepared.
Yeah. And then I also received a message from Eddie Amundsen, and it was very complimentary to the board as well about our work with the budget, and that we're, so that was nice to hear. And then, Donna, I'll let you talk about that letter if you want.
So I think everyone had also received a letter from Julie Castillo about her work reduction. And then we had, I believe everyone had gotten a letter from Dale Perkins that was in our boxes. And so I just wanted to make sure to acknowledge her taking the time to talk about benchmarks and state testing and the directives that aren't really benefiting our students in her experience, because she's a prior employee. And it was snail mail, or dropped off. So did anyone acknowledge the letter because we couldn't email because we didn't have an email? Or did someone call, or do we know? Did anyone acknowledge? Because I was willing to, but I don't really have letterhead. I mean, I guess I could create it. So I just wanted to make sure that she knows that we all received the letter.
I'm happy to call Dale. It
Okay.
got a little hectic the last couple of weeks, and I was kind of in graduation mode, so I haven't,
Did you got one?
I did receive
Okay,
one.
great.
So I'm happy to call Dale as well.
Okay, thank you.
Go the same thing, said nothing more.
Okay. All right, so we're moving on to public participation on agenda items. And remember, you can speak now and/or when the topic comes up on the agenda. So is there anybody that would like to speak at this time on an agenda item? Okay. All right, so we're moving on to reports, and I just want to do a reminder that we are shooting for 5 minutes per topic on reports. We're still working all the kinks, but we're trying to manage everybody's time. So the first one is our board report. So since I started last time, I won't start on this one.
Try to be brief. So I attended the color run. I think that happened after our last meeting, and I just want to shout out to the committee. They did a great job. They had a sign on the corner of Chestnut and Lincoln they put up to thank all the donors and sponsors, and the sign was taken down without asking. So we are sorry that the donors and sponsors didn't get to see that, but if anyone sees a color run banner flying around town, it was removed.
It was a beautiful sign.
It was a beautiful sign. So we're hoping someone needed it more than we did. The band concert was lovely. I also attended the high school awards night, the FFA banquet awards night, open houses at Redwood, Dana Gray, and middle school, the high school scholarship night, the senior boards, freshman interviews, and graduation for high school and alt ed, middle school promotion. And Jerry and I attended an interview with our auditor, our school auditor. So May is a very busy time in June. It's very enriching. It was very fun it's always fun to go to the graduations. I'm so thankful that we have a seat reserved for us so that we can experience and view and witness all the hard work from staff, and the students are so excited, and it's lovely. So thank you for saving us a seat. And I also just wanted to shout out for our CSBA, which is our school board association. They had a great brief on LCAP development in our resource folder. It's been put in by Anna, so if you could take a peek at that, that's very, it has a lot of information in it about LCAP. There's also a CSBA survey for school safety, staff housing, and community engagement. So that's also something it's about 10 minutes. And we actually we're in Region 1, and our delegate used to be Jennifer Owen, our board member that retired. And now it's a delegate in Middletown, and her name is Sandy Tucker. So I'm sure she's a contact if you needed any information on CSBA. And my last is to remind that they're offering a free summer training module for board members. And I believe I spoke about the summer learning, and I think there's only 3 modules for us to use. And I think they want to kind of see how that works for us, because a lot of times we're rural and we can't travel out. So they want to give us things that we can view online. But I think they'll eventually charge us. So let's take advantage of the free training modules. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, let me see, I attended some graduations. One that stood out the most for me was adult school. It's always amazing to see folks that drop out of education and come back 10 years later and complete it. High school awards nights, high school scholarships, and you probably all know we gave away, or the community gave away $300,000 in 45 minutes. And then we had a conversation with our auditing company. Like they're being very thorough as usual. Wendy's doing a great job. Thank you very much. And that's all about all I have.
attended awards night, did senior boards, freshman seminar, job interviews, and all the graduations last week. It was just great to see all the hard work pay off for so many kids and staff, and just such a wonderful time in the district. So thanks for sharing it with us.
I did most of those same things. Graduations are always my favorite, very emotional. So, also, what really stood out, I mean, did a lot, this has been a busy month for all of us, and freshman seminar interviews are amazing. It's so fun to see ninth grade kids dressed up and coming in, putting on their professional best and shaking our hand and answering questions. And anyway, that was really great. And senior boards are also really fun. Worked in the garden sale. That was fun. I'd never done it. I'd never been to one. And now I'm going to be going all the time because those gardens are amazing. And then one of my favorite things was I chaperoned a second grade, well, my granddaughter's class, but they go up to third grade. I didn't know they did this. And so the whole second grade, we all walked up to Dana Gray and we broke off into third grade classrooms. And our class, luckily, my class, it's not mine. My granddaughter's class was fortunate enough to go to a classroom where the teacher had third graders be the ambassadors and take little small groups of second grade kids around the school. And it was, my granddaughter went in going, I want to go here. I want to go to school. I want to be here. And by the time we were done, she couldn't wait to go to Dana Gray. So kudos to the Dana Gray staff and to the Redwood staff. That was really great.
So I've been involved in the district for about 19 years, and with all being busy, but I just want to compliment the staff that they continue to do it better. Mm-hmm. So every year, one of the things that I did was the sixth grade, I don't know what they officially call it, but it's orientation. Mm-hmm. So that was, each year they fine tune it and get it better and better. And we did all the open houses. I even went to Redwood. It was very sad and sweet all at the same time because my youngest is leaving elementary school, but then my niece was there coming in. It was very sweet, and I just loved
the 65-year
yes, they did have a 65.
That was very cool.
65-year event, but the band concert was amazing. I have to say, I haven't been for a couple years, but that was quite. I can't believe what that man has accomplished in a very short amount of time. So thank you for that. FFA, I also went to a MECA meeting and the Friends of the Mendocino Community Coast Campus. Anyway, over there. There's too many C's in that thing. And then I did 8th grade picnic. And the 5th grade, first year, they did a field day down at Wiggly Giggly. The teachers did a great job. I mean, it was organized and nice job. And the 5th grade awards, and then the interviews and the senior boards and all that kind of stuff. So yes, we were all very busy and all over the place this month. But again, just the staff's doing a great job. They're always doing a great job. But every year they just turn it up a notch, and I just want to thank everybody for that.
Right. I mean, because we've been busy viewing and visiting, but there's so much behind the scenes stuff that they commit for May, so it's tough for staff, and especially all of it, but there's just so much that goes into May and June in the district, so we appreciate the staff. Thank you.
Oh, and another thing, I think we did get an email about, or somehow the art at Dana Gray, the affordable housing.
Oh,
so
yes.
I saw that multiple
did
times.
too.
That was a great display.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was the art was just over the top at Redwood and Dana Gray, and middle school there was some art and math that I viewed. That was great.
Okay. All right. Did I flip the page? Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to Becky's report, and you get 5 minutes per thing.
Oh, good Lord, should have said 5 minutes total. We would have been moving.
Well, I think we have some people here that are a little more interested than
Yes.
35 seconds in what we're going to talk about.
So professional development, I sent you some sheets in case I didn't see them in the drive, and so I didn't know if I didn't send them to Anna. So in any case, I sent them to you now. So we have the Math Solutions professional development that's happened over the last 4 days. That's been exciting. We did kindergarten through 5th grade teachers. TK through grade 5 on Monday and Tuesday. It's about developing number sense. The presenters came from Mass Solutions, which is a sister company to Houghton Mifflin. Marilyn Burns is the founder of that little company, and she's one of the gurus in the math world. So that was exciting to be a part of that. Our teachers received lots of great professional development from this group. MCOE funded it, which was even better, and we were able to host it. We had teachers from Leggett and Mendocino also join in. So that happened over the last 4 days. Today was the last day, and it ended with the middle school and high school teachers. On Monday and Tuesday of next week, we are bringing all the district counselors together, the psychologists, potentially people from our MPA, who work with our students. They're marriage family therapists who work with some of our students, and all the administrators together. We're going to be meeting at an undisclosed location. We're going to be meeting at a friend's house in Mendocino so that we can come together and really talk about a district counseling plan, what that looks like from Redwood all the way to Fort Bragg High School, what it looks like for Alt Ed, what it looks like for Dana Gray, just looking at a comprehensive plan for our counselors. Because this will be the first year where we have a counselor at every site. So we want to make sure that we really go in with a clear vision and how we want to work on transitioning our kiddos through our schools. And we fully recognize that if our students don't feel safe and loved, teaching them to read and write is not going to happen. So taking care of those basic needs first. So I'm excited about our counselor retreat. We'll be together for 2 whole days. They'll probably be completely sick of me after 2 days, but we're hoping to bond and get some real work done. So that's exciting. We are attending a breakthrough coach training for some of our new administrators and their secretaries. It's really about time management and organization. So we'll be doing that in July. We are partnering with Ukiah Unified School District with their leadership team to participate in the leadership blueprint. It's by the Flippin Group, and they are very well known all over the U.S. Vern Hazard is the founder, and he will be taking us through effective leadership. Our entire administrative team here in Fort Bragg Unified will be attending, so all of our directors and all of our certificated administration. So there's 13 of us from Fort Bragg Unified attending that, and then what I'm most excited about is being able to work with a larger district like Ukiah to partner and ask questions and kind of compare notes. So that's exciting. That's happening in July. We will spend July 30th doing our administrative retreat for Fort Bragg Unified, and the 31st and August 1st will be for the blueprint. Carla Leach is going to present a workshop on adverse childhood experiences on August 10th. And then last but not least, we'll have the teacher boot camps that happen again for our new teachers and our interns. We're also asking teachers in the district to partner with our new interns who are have really no experience whatsoever, but to work with them this summer to get them ready to go for August 14th when our students return. From there, I'm going to turn the mic over to Barry Silva so he can talk about Whitman Field and this exciting news about the scoreboard.
So Feral Gas wants to donate a scoreboard to Whitman Field for the varsity softball team. That's kind of a big deal. So as indicated, a location for the scoreboard's been identified. There's power available from the snack shack over at the Dana Gray Field. There's a couple different options. I believe the varsity coach obviously wants to go with the lesser expensive of the two. So this is essentially a gift. You know, Feral Gas will obviously, they're sponsoring it, so they'll have their name on it. And there was, I believe there's a picture of it, what it's going to look like. So I'm not exactly sure when this is going to happen. Pretty soon, but we're just kind of hoping that you guys will support it.
I'm thrilled. I think it's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah.
So will it be in outfield, or is it going to be on, where is the location of the?
Right field.
Right field, okay. And so it'll be out in the weather 24/7. I've seen some that hang on the bleachers somehow, so this is definitely something that's going to be,
Well, we want it in the right field site so that the home team can
see it as
see
well.
the score.
Sure,
Right. Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Next on the list is Greater Fort Bragg Field Improvement Association. So Barry and I have met often. One of us has always tried to be at the Fields meeting, and there are members of the Fields Committee here. We've been meeting with the Fields Committee as much as possible over the last 2.5 years, 3 years? 3 years. And so one of the things that we've been looking for is how to ascertain funds to improve the fields. One of the things that we've done so far is we've worked with the city to access the TOT so that we purchased new equipment. That's going to go a long way. We now have an aerator and a new lawnmower. Believe it or not, will add a huge amount of life into our fields, just the aeration alone. So we're excited about that. Barry was able to work with our grounds crew this last couple of weeks to get the fields mowed and test out the new equipment. So that's exciting. We're going to have a ribbon cutting.
Yes,
Do you remember the date on that?
June 24th.
June 24th. So mark your calendars, June 24th. And just to say thank you to the city for that equipment. The Fields Committee met and
We're going to do it at the stadium, and I'm not positive what time. Yet it's going to be before the city council meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's the day of our meeting.
I thought we were the
Oh, no,
27th.
July 24th. Never mind.
Oh.
Wrong month.
Got that for you.
so the Fields Committee met. One of the things that they're looking at is potentially trying to apply for Prop 68 funds through the State Department to use to make improvements to the Fort Bragg Unified Fields. But to do that, Fort Bragg would need to sign into a 30-year lease agreement with the Fields Committee so that they have the power to make decisions for the property. But the decisions would be for maintenance, not for use. So I spoke with Nancy Klein, our attorney, and said, have you heard of this? What are other people doing? She's doing some research to see what other districts, if other districts have done this, what it looks like. The Fields Committee had given me some documents, kind of sample lease agreements and some documents from the Prop 68 site that I passed on to Nancy. I will tell you that Nancy was a little bit uncertain about it, and I had emailed the group about it. She was a little leery. She had said that in order to lease our fields, or lease anything, we have to go through what Ed Code prescribes, not what Prop 68 prescribes. So she's going to look into it a little more. She actually made the comment that she thought maybe MCRPD wouldn't be in a better spot to lease it because we have agreements with them already. I'm not putting you on the spot, Dan. Don't worry. So right now at this point, all I can tell you with this is that the Fields Committee is looking to tap into Prop 68 funds. It's through the Parks and Rec District, I believe, in order to help get our fields going. I don't have much information for you more than that, but I wanted to get it on this agenda so that it doesn't blindside anybody. You know that this is something that we've been talking about. Prop 68 funds, the deadline, I believe, is August 1. We talked about at the last meeting that we didn't believe we were going to be able to get all the ducks in a row to be able to have something ready for August 1, but that doesn't negate my responsibility to have this conversation with you that this has been a discussion item. When I get more information back on Nancy Klein and the feasibility of this, I'll let you know. My concern at the Fields Committee when we had first spoken about it was they're still our fields. I don't want to give up the ability of who makes the judgments on those fields. We would need some kind of outside entity like the Fields Committee to apply for Prop 68 funds because we as a school district are not eligible for those funds. So that's why the conversation began, and it was a good conversation. So once I know more from Nancy Klein, can we do this, can we not do this, what have other school districts done, I'll have more information for you. And this little nutshell that I just gave you, I emailed the Fields Committee to let them know so that they wouldn't be blindsided from this either.
Hi, Jerry Murphy with the Fields Group. Just to put the grant request in perspective, the master plan for the fields for Redwood, Dana Gray, and the middle school, excluding the stadium, roughly they costed out the improvements to be slightly over $8 million. So that's about what the grant would be. It's broken down by field, but the total is roughly $8 million, just over that. And that's in 2016 dollars. Probably a little more now.
Was that from the Verde plan? From
Yeah,
the
that's
city
what we
plan?
call the master plan, the
Right.
Fields master plan, the Verde design plan.
And the Verde design plan was very much the Cadillac, if you would. And we've talked about in the Fields Committee a lot that following the Verde plan is, if we could pull it off and get it, right on. Is it something completely realistic? I don't know if anybody is quite certain of that. So it's going to be expensive to fix our fields. And when I had the conversation with Tabitha Miller about the tourist occupancy tax, she had said, Becky, we can't afford to buy you a new field. We can't afford to give you a new field. Understood. So we need to look at what we have and how we can improve upon it so that it's reasonable to our community and we maintain and fix what we have. And right now, the fields have gone into such disrepair. It's something we need to consider, so.
This August 1st deadline, so if we don't make that, that means we're off?
No, there's different
Or-
rounds of
No,
this.
that's the August 1st is the immediate round of application deadlines.
Okay.
But there will be more deadlines coming up. The best guess would be at least one a year for the next several years.
But if we don't, like you said, you didn't think we could get it done by August 1st, then what does that mean?
It just means we wait. And I'm more concerned making sure that we do it correctly. And Nancy was concerned because Prop 68 really did require the kind of lease back. And so she's doing some research. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, I'm thrilled that the fields, that we have the new equipment that is going to start helping the fields get renovated at least a little bit at a time. It's not going to be an overnight fix, but the aeration that we can now do on a more regular basis and the mowing that can happen more quickly, those two things combined will help improve our fields. So with the Fields Committee, I want to just thank them for looking at our fields and trying to help improve our fields. I'm just worried about jumping into something to try and hit a deadline.
So we can apply next August.
Well, there's rounds of the money, and
Okay.
I'm not familiar enough with Prop 68 to even give you an answer on that.
Okay.
So,
So if there was anything we could do to help expedite this, because I feel like you guys have worked 3 years since, already, and you had that beautiful plan at Redwood, and, if there's does Nancy know that we have a meeting on the 27th? Do you think there's any way
told
we
her.
could?
I told her.
Okay.
So it's not.
I don't want to pay double time on the lawyer fees, but if we could
And
try to
we
help.
are investing our legal dollars on this. What's difficult is that in order to do something of this nature with this committee, it means that we have to follow Ed Code, and that's what she's looking at. It's a little bit,
Need more time than
it's a
2
little
weeks.
bit tricky. Mhm.
It's a process.
And she's trying to figure out if other districts have done this. So,
Can I jump in here real
please.
quick? Other districts have done something similar. Other districts have done what the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation is proposing, and that's a turnkey agreement, which a turnkey agreement is, we're not leasing the stadium or the property to them for money. We're turning it over to them so that they can get the grant once the work is complete. And it's got to be a shovel-ready project. Once the project is complete, then the state approves it, bam, and it goes back to the district. So, not to jump ahead, but I have a
No,
list.
it's a good segue.
I have a whole list of schools that have done this. In fact, Willits Unified, there is Willits Kids Club, built a building with Prop 68. They built this beautiful park with Prop 68 funds on Willits Unified property. It now belongs to Willits Unified School District. But this nonprofit organization was able to acquire the funds to build this park.
And the stadium committee is in a much different place. They're on much more stable ground in doing this because of the fact the stadium exists.
Right.
And we are working with the stadium committee, and they have a track record of completions of projects, and they've accepted grant money and have produced. The fields committee is getting there. The hard part is that it's a little bit more ambiguous to fix a field than it is to build a stadium. To build a stadium, it's very specific. We are going to build this. When you say you're improving a field, that's a little bit different. Anything else about the Fields Committee? Because I'd like to segue into the Sports Foundation.
Anything else, Jerry?
Have we submitted a pre-proposal for this?
No,
Okay.
no, nothing has gone in. And we would hope that we'd be able to use the next year, or whatever the time limit is, to get the information we need to put a package together that will qualify for the grant that we're asking for. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, and of course, the agreements, and very complex and maybe needlessly so. So we want to find that all out.
Okay. I'm looking online, there looks like there's a one-page pre-proposal that they'll accept at any time to even see if it's a project that they would even consider.
Yeah, that's like a fill out the blank.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
criteria for it. We score fairly well on that.
Oh, great, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Jerry, Barry, or Becky? Any other public? Okay.
So the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation is up, and they are applying for Prop 68 funds, and I'm going to let Barry talk about this one, because the Sports Foundation is actually in a really good place, and I think they'll probably get it, to be quite honest with you.
Well, let's hope so. So yeah, the Mendocino Sports Foundation, Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation, or the Stadium Committee, is applying for a grant. The grant writer is here. Some of the proposed improvements include artificial surface field, all-weather track, LED stadium lights, additional family restrooms, and expansion of the concession stand. Is that all correct? No?
No expansion
Could-
of the concession.
Okay. So, yeah, like I discussed a little bit ago, this is considered a shovel-ready project because they already have cost estimates for all the improvements that need to be done. They're ready, shovel-ready, so that would make, it turns into a turnkey agreement. Like I said, we lease it to the Stadium Committee. When the project is complete, bam, here's your new lights, artificial surface field, and all-weather track.
And the difference with this is that we have agreements with the Stadium Committee on the property and the facility. So it's not like we're looking for a new agreement. This one is, like Barry said, it's a turnkey project. It's ready to go. We already have an existing 20-year agreement with the Stadium Committee, so it's not something that we need to talk to legal about.
Dollar amount there?
It was 6.5 million.
And when you say stadium committee, I just want to clarify this that's the same as the Mendocino
I'm
Coast.
sorry, the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation. We've always called it the Stadium Committee.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know, I just want to make
Mendocino
sure
Coast
everybody
Sports
knows.
Foundation, MCSF. And just to thank you to that group, I moved into the community in 1997, and the momentum from this group is unbelievably profound, and the resiliency and grit that this group has maintained is incredibly impressive. When you look at the stadium and that has been a community project for the last 22 years, that's amazing. We had our folks, I want to say, who came in when we were doing the remodel. I want to say the contractors had come in and looked at the stadium and estimated that it would cost somewhere close to $16 million to build that stadium today. And that stadium was built through community donation for a little over $1.5 million. So that's pretty amazing. That's something that you put down in the history books because that shows the true love and loyalty of our town. So thank you to the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation for all your hard work. There will be countless of generations of students who will benefit from that beautiful gift, and it will continue to keep giving. So, no,
They're working.
they were out there working with tractors and
Yes,
shovels, and I
amazing.
think some people in here were out there with tractors and shovels, and so it's been a huge community gift, and it's not just one sport.
Right.
There are many ages of kids who use that committee, which is why our other fields need to be fixed as well, because Timberwolf can only take so much. So it's been a huge gift. So thank you to the Sports Foundation for your resilience and not giving up on us and seeing things through. And if they can get this $6.5 million for an all-weather track and artificial turf and new lights, that's another 20-year gift. And for our little rainy town, ooh, not having a mud puddle, it's pretty exciting.
No, it would be huge. The use that the community would get out of that stadium, if it was an artificial surface field, would be, I mean, profound. As it is now, 4 months out of the year, we can use the field. And we can't overuse it because then we destroy it. So, I mean, we could host soccer tournaments like we used to host over at Dana Gray. We could do them at night because we'd have lights. There's so many different organizations that use that stadium that could potentially use that too, if if it was upgraded. Is there maintenance involved? Yes, there is maintenance involved. It's not install it and let it be. Myself and the grounds department have been doing extensive research on artificial turf maintenance. But I mean, everything's got to be maintained. So I'm really hopeful. I'm hopeful that
It's
we
very
get this.
exciting. And what I appreciate more than anything is that we have community groups that want to help us with this, because when we look at our budget and we have our great budget workshops that are really super motivating, sarcasm noted, it's borderline depressing. Because when we get together for a budget meeting, we're not talking about how to spend money. We're talking about how to reduce program because we don't have the money, because our expenses are far exceeding the money that's coming in. So to have community groups who are stepping up saying, hey, we know that extracurriculars make a difference in the lives of children, and not just high school children. Cubs football uses it. Youth, our youth soccer teams could use it. All of our high school and soccer teams use it. So there's much more than just soccer and football. There's track. There's so much more than what we do. And there's graduation for the whole community. And this year, just a shout out to the track coaches, because we have one in the audience. We had 93 kids in the track team this year. I mean, good Lord, that's over 20% of the high school population. Oh, we have 2 coaches here, sorry. So in any case, I can't stress enough how much we are indebted to our community for their ability to focus on our children and say, this is something that we need. So we wanted to give you that update. It doesn't require any board approval. It's just more so knowledge that you know that they are applying for the funds. I believe that the stadium committee is ready for the August 1st deadline.
With the exception of the agreement, the MOU
Okay.
between the districts. So the I suppose that could be taken care of at the June 24th?
27th meeting.
27th board meeting.
So we have a copy of the MOU. I believe the stadium committee prepared the MOU. You want to come to them, please?
The state in their grant programs has very, very specific language, and so what we did is we reached out to the state for the template, and that is the language that they require. So unfortunately, any changing of the language basically requires an act of Congress, but it probably does need to be reviewed by legal.
We'll go out to our attorney, and we're in a different situation with the stadium committee because we already have existing memorandums of understanding with them from the last 20 years, because they still, quote unquote, own it. They haven't turned over the facility to us yet. Does that make sense? So because we already have a standing agreement with them, this is much different than the Fields Association.
This is more about maintenance 30 years having access to be able to maintain. But I don't want to get into a huge legal quandary, or discussion, because I support all of these projects. But just wanting to make sure that it's checked through our legal, because
Yes.
I don't want it to trigger a surplus property, because I know back when we had to do No U of Foods, we must have had no documentation with them, and it triggered the public disclosure and opportunity in doing all of that bidding. So none of these trigger that. I mean, I just want to make sure legal knows what
That's
this
why it's going
language
through legal.
says. Yeah, and why theirs is holding up,
And that's why theirs is holding up.
So I just want to make sure that we're doing this in the right direction and process, and not, because I want to support it all.
So we have another regular board meeting on June 27th, and so that's when that will come back.
Do you have any other questions?
Page numbers on that.
Okay, that can be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your hard work.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Barry, anything we're missing? Okay.
Okay, and the last one for me is Redwood Early Release Days. Redwood's the only school that doesn't have the same block of time as every other school. They're over in their minutes annually. So if we took the early release days and brought it to 12:30 versus 12:55, it's 39 days, 25 minutes. They still have an excess of minutes, even if we took that away. So we're looking at the Redwood Early Release Days ending at 12:30 on those 39 ER days.
Does that impact busing, or that all works?
Does that impact busing, Barry?
When's middle school dismiss?
Middle school dismisses
12:45.
12:45.
No, we'll be all right. We should.
Barry can always make things happen.
No, the bus
And the bus drivers.
can make things happen.
So it'll be Redwood at 12:30, middle school at 12:45, Dana Gray at 1:15, and high school's at 12:45, but high school can't get picked up until 1:15 because the buses can't come until after the half-hour lunch is completed. So I think it'll be okay.
I think the families will like the number of 12:30 instead of 12:55, because I often have families saying, "What time do we pick up our kids?" So that's nice.
So-
They're all quarter hours. I appreciate that.
So I just wanted to give you that information so that you knew that was coming down the pike.
And did that go out?
It went out to the staff. They discussed it in a staff meeting.
I was more concerned about parents.
It has not gone out yet.
Okay.
It's only gone out with the staff. But when we do all of our information, we'll get that out. Early release days don't begin until September 11th, so we do have some time.
And it may be good. Will it be at the registration day
Yes.
on August 6th?
We'll have all that
Everyone will know.
information there.
Okay.
Registration day, August 6th. We're chuckling because we're trying this for the first time, and we're going to see if this works. The entire district will register on August 6th from 11:30 to 6 at Dana Gray, and we're going to encourage people to space out your time.
Those were beautiful flyers, by the way.
Right here. I got mine today.
Very nice.
Very informative.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. I didn't time you, but.
5 minutes over, but that was great.
Okay. So we have 8.3, the CSEA. I don't think anybody's here. How about anybody from FBDTA? Okay. We have our consent calendar. Is there anything that anybody has concerns about? Needs to be pulled or discussed?
Do you want to just very quickly go over the ag grant? I know we've done it every year pretty much, but more free money.
I forgot to say I drove yesterday to the.
The Ag Incentive Grant is a match, so we apply for the grant. It only pertains to our agriculture department. Megan Tunzi is wonderful at pinpointing every dollar and how to use it, and so it's a match. So that's why we apply for it. We need to get board approval. We need to document that it's been approved by the board, because what you're saying as a board is that you will match these grant funds in specific areas.
And then they also report number of students that are enrolled on that form as well, which is.
Yes.
So it's reduced a little bit, it seems like, from prior years, the numbers?
And I don't
that.
remember why.
I was just curious, that was my only question.
They've gone up next year.
Oh, the good.
Yeah, I heard that get your kids.
Yep.
out.
Great.
Yeah.
So we don't, I was just curious on why, and if we, maybe it was cured because they're back.
On the numbers, you mean?
Mhm.
Oh, you mean the student numbers?
Enrollment.
Enrollment. You know, I'm not sure what happened the year that we took a dip. I think it might have been that Miss Tunzi, and I hate to say this, but she was gone for a little bit because she was on a maternity leave. And I will tell you, as a mama who's been on a maternity leave twice, your classes always come back a little bit different. So, not that everybody didn't do a wonderful job. So,
It's the offerings too, right? So
that's another one.
yeah.
Okay, so
So-
that could make a difference
But her numbers for next year look good.
over the, yeah.
So,
So we're gonna get, by spending $16,000, we're gonna get a $16,000 match, so that's what the amount.
I think it's an 8 and 8 that we match 8. Isn't it 16? Oh, no, it's 16 and 16?
We're hoping it's 16.
Okay.
It fluctuated twice this year. We started with what we thought was going to be 13, and then it dropped to 8, and then it went back up to 15 or something, so.
In typical fashion.
Yes.
of grants.
So that's exciting.
So just a question about the personnel action report, because it talks about new hires, just a quick update on how hiring's going.
I chuckle because we're struggling with hiring. We're struggling with hiring because of our remote location, and we are struggling with hiring because we get excited teachers who want to work here. And we got a phone call today from someone who said, I just looked at how much it's going to cost me to live in Fort Bragg. And I don't know how to respond to that. I can't rent a room in my house. I have a little tiny travel trailer that I don't think is livable. So we're working the best that we can, trying to recruit and maintain. And what we're discovering in Fort Bragg is the more and more we can find our locally homegrown families who want to be here. Working for the school district is a good gig. I mean, I say that, but we have good benefits. We have a great calendar. You have to want to be here. So we're doing the best we can. We have some open positions right now. If anybody is looking for a job, please go to edjoin.org and search FBUSD. So we're doing the best we can. We're in the throes of hiring season. We still have a few teaching positions that we have to fill, so we're hoping that we can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
So I move to approve the consent calendar.
No second?
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Diana, will you read?
9.1 are warrants dated June 3rd, 2019. Board meeting minutes, regular meeting May 9th, special board meeting May 16th, special board meeting minutes May 29th. Personnel action report 9.3, 9.4 obsolete material and equipment, and 9.5 the Ag Education Incentive Grant for 2019-20.
Okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. All right. We are going to have our 2 public hearings, and I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but if any of you would like to sneak out right now, we'll go ahead and pause so that you don't feel like,
We won't-
I'm a realist too,
we won't
so.
feel bad either.
I'm hoping you were all here for that. Very exciting.
Was it like tune in at home? Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of you working in our communities. We see you at lots of different places.
Thank you.
Oh, even Barry's leaving.
Thank you for staying.
I don't think anybody else was listening to that for yesterday.
Okay.
All righty. So we'll,
Beginning July 1, so So if you want to go as well. No, I had asked our administrators at our meeting that I'd like 2 administrators at every board meeting. And so.
A regular meeting or?
Beginning every meeting.
Every meeting.
Beginning in the new year. So.
Thank you.
Claire is here.
You can take one off your box.
All right, so we're moving on to public hearing on the public disclosure of local control and accountability plan for 1920. So we talked about both of these things last month. So there's no real presentation, right? We just opened the public hearing. If anybody would like to
6:57?
run to the podium. Okay, so I will officially open the public hearing at 6:58. So this is a time where public could pose any questions, concerns.
I thought that's why they were all standing up. They just get a line up.
So what I will share with you about it is that already some of the numbers and actions have changed since 3 days ago. Because what I have to do actually is go through every line item in, especially the supplemental concentration part, and identify where everything we spent in that particular resource belongs in here. And so it's a little bit of a challenge. I'm close now. The only thing I have left to put in is I have to allocate the sub-costs that were used for supplement, but everything else now is in there. So when you see it next week, like I think if you look at your last page, pages, it only shows 2 million something in here for supplemental concentration dollars. I'm now up to 3,027,000. So I've got to find I know where it is. I just haven't had a chance to allocate it out. So once that happens, once I'm done with that, that number will equal our total expenditures, because that's one of the requirements. I have to identify every single dollar that we spent this year. We will have a little bit left over this year moving into next year. And then also identifying, we don't have to identify every single dollar, but other resources that are used to support these particular actions. So not the entire budget, but those dollars that are specific to these particular actions are in there. And we have a little bit of, there's a couple places where we have a couple of explanations to add. And then also, once all that's there, then we can put together the budget summary and the infographic. So that will all be part of the final packet.
For parents will all be filled out
Yes,
for the next.
yes.
Great. Thank you.
And thank you all for going through and reading it and sending me emails about what to fix and what to change and what's not addressed, because I go through it so many times that I become glossed over. Like I literally will read the same sentence and not recognize that the verb is not even in there, because I'm reading it with it in.
Right, and
So-
that's so natural to your own language. Like if you're reading someone else's stuff, you'll see different. But if, I do the same thing. I mean, as a writer, it's natural to, because you know what you want to say in your head, and our brains are smarter than our typing sometimes.
Mary Macula had noticed a couple of things in the Title 2 Part A addendums that I had missed, and so I fixed that. I think I sent you an email that
Yep,
said that.
thank you.
So just those things. And I know, Diana, that you had a couple of comments, and I think I addressed
Well,
them. Did I?
not specifically, but so I thought maybe you were going to still looking into it, because we had kind of a conversation last time about what we put in there and what we don't put in there, even though we're doing
right.
doing something at one school. And then I was wondering, because we have, what was the last run though? There was something in
It
there
was
that
like
I didn't know if we were
parent-
allocating.
the parent portals that we were going to have,
Right.
the parent stations, but we're not really allocating funds for that.
For that.
Um,
And then I think, because breakfast of classrooms mentioned in here, the upward bounds mentioned in here, and so that's where I felt like, okay, so those other things, why aren't those in there? Because I don't think we're allocating any money for upward bound or the breakfast in classroom. So it ends up getting to be, I know that you were going to check with the
Right.
county to find out, you want to put what we're doing to address the most needy children in our district so that they're getting a boost, and that's the point of the money. But we're not really allocating any funds or resources from that.
That if you are doing something, even if there is no cost, include it.
Okay.
Because it's good information for parents to see that there are other things happening to address these actions and these
Right.
goals that don't necessarily involve a
Right, and
specific
s-
cost. So
so the
they actually suggested before that we include some
So
things
then-
like, that may have changed because everything else does, so.
Right.
So I'll include the parent stations, and I think I already.
Would that help with the students, though?
That may end up having some cost, but we have no idea because we'll have to allocate a couple Chromebooks and some, you know, I mean, there'll be a little bit of that in there. I mean, we've increased the amount of time for bilingual aids to be available, so that cost is in there. I hadn't thought about other ancillary costs of that, but that would show up next year as part of the actuals. You know,
So we
right
could
now
just-
we're not planning on spending any additional funds on that, but I did put in there that we're increasing the aid time for availability for parents.
And what we talked about was one bilingual aid at Redwood and one bilingual aid at Dana Gray, that we're going to increase that person's daily time by a quarter of an hour or half an hour. We're still debating that. I think we have half hour
I think
in
we
the
have a
budget.
half hour.
And the idea would be that that person would be available to parents every Wednesday on early release days to provide either ARIES training, email help, some kind of
Questions.
help that maybe our bilingual families may need that they may not get in other areas in the community, and then have a Chromebook, like we talked about, a parent station, but then having the bilingual aid available for if we have parents, whether you speak English or speak Spanish, it doesn't matter, to be a help to parents who come in and want to check their kids' grades. And then for parents to know that every Wednesday, there's designated time with that person when they're not helping children because it's early release, they can come in and get help.
So that'll be at Redwood and Dana Gray.
Redwood, Dana Gray Middle School.
Well, that's-
I don't know about, hold on. Redwood and Dana Gray for sure. We're trying to figure out how to do the middle school. We think we can do the middle school with their one bilingual aid, perhaps.
Perhaps, we have to see.
Because they're a little bit, they have less help. So because they have less help, we may need that person for kudos. So we're not quite certain about the middle school, but the high school we're going to be doing through Safe Passage.
Okay.
And we're using the money that Safe Passage earns through assets because they're written in the grant. Safe Passage will become that partner with us for all the high school parents. And they will have a bilingual person available for that. So they're also going to be offering different things. We met with them this week to talk about what they're going to be providing through the assets money, because they receive $19,000 a year, and to help with our high school families. So we've got them taken care of. The one that we're not so sure about is for alt ed and for the high school. Alt ed,
Middle school.
what's great about alt ed is that they're so small that either the secretary, the counselor, or the principal will take the time and work with parents. So we're not too worried about alt ed. When parents come in and say they need something,
But what's the bilingual status of those three people?
none.
Okay.
None. But if there is a need at alt ed with bilingual services, we'll have to use Tomas at the high school or someone at the high school across the street. So Patty's helped before. So we can figure that out. The middle school does have a bilingual aid, so we're hoping to use that bilingual aid. But again, we just have to make sure that we have time in that person's schedule so that it can be accomplished. But for sure, Dana Gray and Redwood we can pull off.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:06 for the LCAP plan. Okay, so we'll move on to the public disclosure of the budget. So same thing, we talked about this last month and had a full review. I'm sure there's stuff that's changed.
What we sent you
Oh, should I
on-
open the?
Oh, yeah.
Should I
Probably,
officially?
sorry.
Okay. So we'll officially open the public hearing at 7:07. Okay.
So There have been a number of things. For instance, all of the changes to our health and welfare benefits rates were not entered into the system by the county until over this last weekend. So I had to prepare something without, I couldn't prepare the whole SACS report for you to look at for this meeting. I feel pretty comfortable that these numbers are going to be close to what the system actually produces. I've been starting to run some reports that are tying up pretty closely to what this says. One of the things that somebody asked, I forget who it was, how did we get to balanced in 3 years when we were so worried about it before? And that's several things. One is we had quite a few retirees this year, and that adds a surprising amount to the bottom line when you replace them with newer teachers. That's one of the things. We are not adding, at this point, a kindergarten teacher, so that's a bit. The other thing that looks like it's going to help the bottom line, and this may, blow up in my face, but the transfer of the ED program to the county, if I take out the personnel expenses we actually have this year, subtract them from our cost next year, I've reduced our funding by the amount that the county is going to take for that ADA, and only added a small amount on top of that we think will be billing the county for supplies and other allocated costs for that program. We come out quite a bit ahead. So I even went down to Becky and I said, tell me if this makes sense. Am I thinking about this? What am I missing here? Because I'm not used to things working out in our favor financially. So that was a pretty big, chunk of change too. So all of those things combined to where I think we're at $140,000 at the end of year 3, which isn't huge, but
That would have been 16, I think.
but yes, that and also we have that reserve. So if something, that you can't imagine what a relief that is to have in our back pocket should something go awry. So I feel, like I said, I feel pretty good about what's here. I think it's going to look very much like this when I get the final information into the system finally. So I think this is.
What percent are we at reserve? They, the state or the county wants us at 17, which would be 2 months. So right now we're at.
So
are we at
we're
2
putting
weeks
for this year.
reserve?
Yeah. The minimum required is about 2 weeks,
2 weeks,
worth.
the 3%. So
we're
where
putting
are we?
another week's worth away.
So we have
this
3
year.
weeks.
So we're yeah, and then in the 2 out years, I have another 100,000 going in each of those years. So if
So are we at
everything
5%?
holds, we will be at. We'll be close to 3% at the end of the 3rd year.
Additional
Six,
above.
yes.
6.
Yeah.
Which is, still not
Yeah,
even close to
not
17.
quite 3%, like probably 2 to 2.5%.
But much better. And
Another
really,
2 to 2.5.
it's so difficult to put the money away. But I think, like you said, and the county letter stated, it'll give us less reactionary
Yes.
actions that are needed that create stress in the district. It's just like, home savings. You have a little bit more,
Right.
your demeanor is much more calm, and you can make a better decision if you have, money in the bank to be able to plan instead of
Yeah.
having to make a
Right.
frantic decision in an hour.
Well, and it gives us time.
Yeah,
Right.
and the county will be less stressed about if we are deficit spending or if we are close to deficit spending, doesn't give us any room to for anything to happen if we needed to hire an extra teacher suddenly, or if some big thing broke. That's there, and they see that, and so that makes them relax a little more about scolding us about our deficit spending.
So with the ED program, does the county get all of the ADA for those students?
For those
or
students, they will take that
Mhm.
ADA.
even though they're in some of our, our voc ed classes and things like that, CTE classes and things?
We aren't sure how that's going to work
Okay.
yet,
We're-
but
because there's a lot of questions with this right now. And the reason is because they are in our classes. The county is going to take the ADA. The difficulty is that we still need to have them in our areas, because when it comes down to an emergency or if something's happening, we
Right.
need to be able to do that all call. So we're fleshing out some of the details right now, and this is happening a lot faster than the county had anticipated. We had planned that this next year would kind of be the planning year, but what happened was all of our ED teachers resigned or moved on to other jobs. So we had 3 open ED positions. Well, how do you hire for 3 positions and say, well, you're going to be with us next year, this year, but the following year you're going to be moving over to the county? That didn't make any sense. So we put some of this on the fast track to be able to get that happen now, so that
Right.
they are hired with the county and they stay with the county. It's not trying to figure out, well, who am I now? So we're trying to flesh out those details, but it makes it a little bit difficult for us in the budget because we're making our best guesses. And we're doing this hoping that our best guesses are as accurate as they could possibly be. So that's what we're struggling with right now
Yeah.
with this. And that's why Wendy and I keep having these conversations. Okay, are we looking at this correctly? Because this has the potential to be good for us, but it also has the potential to be a big deficit if we aren't looking at it correctly.
yeah.
So we think we are, but
Mind
if
you,
we
you
didn't
err
think
on
we
the
were,
side
then
of
we
caution,
wouldn't.
so.
So we're doing the best that we can with the limited information that we have. And if we need to adjust, then we adjust. But the good news is we do have some reserves that if we do need to adjust,
We can.
we have a little bit of wiggle room. There are wild cards on the table right now with the budget, just so that everyone is really clear. We are making a huge assumption about kindergarten that we are going to be able to maintain. I have to tell you, I'm incredibly nervous about kindergarten. This time last year, we had 30 kids signed up for TK. This time right now, we have 19.
So since you can open it up if we chose to, can we open it up until it's full, going with birthdays that occur?
Okay, and I am going to caution the board against doing that. That's not my recommendation. My recommendation is we stick to our September 2 to December 2. And right now, if we stick with, if it is what it is, and we get fewer than 24 kids in TK, we're going to keep it 1 teacher. If we open it up, we don't receive ADA for those kids until they turn 5. So adding another teacher and not getting the ADA makes no sense. So the state is looking at extending the date to, if they turn 5, and I want to say till January 1, or that hasn't been fully in stone yet. But again, you don't get the ADA until those kids turn 5. So I can't see us adding another teacher
No.
when we only will get half a year of ADA. So,
Right, I was just thinking, December 1, and then you go 2 weeks later, you take a 2-week vacation. So if they went till January 1, we would only miss a little bit of ADA.
no, we would miss
Yeah.
ADA from
Oh, the
August
whole
14th.
time.
First part.
August
Right,
14th
gotcha, yeah.
till
Until
January 1.
January 1, yeah.
So, and we can look into it more. As of right now, I am incredibly reluctant to make any changes to TK because we're always going to leave someone out. Right now, everybody knows who gets left out. It's not ambiguous. It's not a question. If your birthday is not between September 2 and December 2, you're not in TK, period.
Right.
Once we start opening it, we're going to get some wiggle room because it happens every year. Well, my child's birthday is December 4th. I get it. I personally believe that any kid turning 5 between September 2 and September 1 of the following year should be able to be part of TK because it's just the model of universal preschool. So I would just caution you to be very careful about that and opening up that conversation. There's always going to be someone left out. We're always going to get pushed to add in another date or to add in one more. And I am reluctant to add in more staffing if it's not something that we can guarantee.
I'm just thinking the more kids we have in it, the better for education
Well,
for those kids. But I get it
I would
too.
agree with you.
Yeah,
I would
I know
agree
the
with
other
you.
side
The more
is
that
that-
the kids are with us, that we
Right.
can help prepare them for kindergarten, the better, especially if they're kiddos who are not getting any preschool. So I agree with you 100%. You just have to ask where the priorities are for the board.
Of course, you have to ask the state, why are you telling us we can take kids through December 2nd, but if their birthday's December 1st, you're not going to get any ADA until December 2nd for that kid?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
that
And
makes no sense either.
Right, except.
well, and I have to tell you, I still scratch my head about TK because these are the kids who will be the oldest kids in kindergarten. They're not necessarily the ones that need the most help. It's usually the youngest kids in kindergarten who need the most help. So in any case, I am a proponent for universal preschool. I'm a proponent for opening up TK for every kid who turns 5 or who will be in kindergarten the following year.
Mhm.
I think it would be huge for us. For right now, I will tell you that we don't have the space to pull off another 7 classrooms or another 6 classrooms. If that did happen, we would have to look at, going back to the days of a morning TK and an afternoon TK and holding double sessions. For right now, that's not a conversation we're going to have because it's not an option, at least the way I look at it. For right now,
And it's not in the budget for 1920.
No.
no. And the wild cards that I was talking about in this budget is, again, this time last year, we had 30 kids signed up for TK. Right now, we have 19. So I only have one teacher slated for TK right now. For kindergarten, this time last year, we had about 125 kids. Right now, we have 118. And I really thought that this, when we had done our preliminary projections, we thought this was going to be a big group.
Yeah.
And it's either people are not enrolling their kids in kindergarten right now and they're waiting till the first day of school, or we just projected incorrectly, which is possible. So for right now, we've put the extra kindergarten teacher that Wendy and I had discussed in the budget, we have that on hold. So we have that on hold, and we don't have another TK. If we get more TK teachers, then we're looking at a TKK combo right now, so with existing staff. So once again, kindergarten is our wild card, and we'll see what happens. And then we have to worry about our open positions that we have. Those need to get filled. If we can't fill them, we'll be looking at some kind of substitute rotation because we have to have a body in the classroom. So those are things that we're looking at.
Okay.
Good times.
Good times.
Your one-page 2018-19 estimated actuals adjustments to MY, it's very helpful.
Oh, good.
So thank you for that. It's good to see it all in one place. Thanks.
Any other questions for Wendy or any other staff? Any public comment? Okay, then I will close the public hearing at 7:20. And again, those items are coming back for board action next meeting on the 27th. So if anybody would like to come at that time, we will be here.
Or email or call.
Except I work just as a reminder.
Okay.
So
So
then I
nobody else
will-
can be absent that night.
So
No.
Diana, I will
Yes.
put, find a place for the parent stations in the LCAP.
Okay. Are we good to keep going? Anybody need to stand up? Okay. So we're moving on to board action items this evening. So we have 11.1, the consideration of acceptance of the public disclosure of the collective bargaining agreements between both FBDTA and CSEA. And they were in the packet, so anybody could have seen them. I didn't remember how long they were. And how many, it's like, wow. And maybe because there was little bits on every page, but anyway,
Yeah.
it took a long time to get through that. But did anybody have any questions or concerns?
No, I think it was pretty close to what they reported.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the public disclosure document.
Was sent to the county 10 business days prior to this meeting.
Okay.
I haven't heard back from them yet, but, and even between that time and this, the budget is a little bit different, but it still showed that we were able to afford any of the financial pieces that were part of it. And this budget that you were looked at does include the effect of the tentative agreements.
Okay. Okay.
And thank you, Anna, for including in the board packet the TAs so that the board could see how the language changed. We haven't done it that specifically before, and I
No.
think it's a nice
So
way.
I
to-
like it.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's so nice, yeah.
Okay. So any questions? Okay, so we need a motion to ratify these actions needed to fund the agreements.
I move that we approve the board actions 11.1 and 11.2. Do I have to read them out? Or just that's good, okay.
11.1.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that then. Okay, glasses are good. Dang it.
Okay.
A
Can I
and
have a
B.
second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And President Babcock?
Yes. Okay, now 11.2.
Yes, sorry about
The
that.
certificated staff requesting leave of absence. So I believe I have to recuse myself from this. Right? Is this where she is? Is it my sister on there?
She is.
Yeah. Okay. So Diana?
You know, I have a question about recusing. Don't you recuse yourself if you have a personal, if there's a personal
Monetary,
gain?
Yeah.
Personal or monetary gain?
Right.
I mean, you're welcome to recuse yourself. I understand why you want to do it. You're super ethically moral. I get that. I just don't know if you have a
But-
personal gain from your sister going up.
No, and I think she recused herself last time.
I
but-
did.
But it probably, you're just being overly cautious, which is fine. Because
I just feel it's my
this-
sister. I really shouldn't vote
But
on
it's-
anything with my sister.
And it's, well, and this really, what, we treated it just like any other staff, so it's not like there's any, you know, if you can fill your reduction when you're not there, then it's a done deal. I mean, that's the policy. So there's really no gray area here. I mean, she
There's
was
no
able.
argument, no.
But you can do whatever you want to do. But yeah, unless your sister's living with you now.
Because she's going 80%.
But she's also reducing her workload, so that's
So when
even-
she comes back, then that's a financial gain for her, so then
But
I would
you-
have to
but
recuse.
But there's
you-
no financial gain for you.
It isn't,
Yeah.
and even with the agreements that we just approved, you know, that she's in that as well, so.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
just feel
your,
Because her
yeah.
name is in here.
Okay, well, and if
But
when she wants to come back, the board doesn't approve that.
Mm-mm.
You don't
Well, there you
approve
go. Oh,
when
'cause
she
she's
So
a-
the difference is, and I'm splitting the hairs here, because I've been in the hot seat for stupider things than this back when I was working for the city.
So if, with you
When
even
we
saying
do-
that, I'm fine with walking.
When we
down
do the
aisle.
contract,
That's
that's
learning.
equally for every employee.
Yes.
This is unique, this particular one thing is unique to your sister.
Okay, I'm.
So that, and you know, it's really getting petty, but I mean, it's just
Okay.
not worth,
I will
it's just not
turn
worth it
this
to you,
over.
Kathy, for somebody
No,
who knew it,
I
would, you know.
was more
Okay.
than willing. Leave Diane. I will
Don't go
give you
far.
guys a good chance. I'll walk far enough that I can't hear, so.
Oh, gosh.
Shut the door and everything else.
Well, shutting the door is good. It's
We'll
getting
we'll
cold.
come and get you and,
2 seconds.
right. So Becky, do you want to
So
give the
Julie
background?
Castillo's asked for Willie Brown work reduction. That's the garden going to 60%. I fully supported Julie. I mean, regardless of how amazing and wonderful Julie is, when our employees ask for a work reduction to participate in Willie Brown, we always do our best to provide that opportunity. Because Julie teaches a standalone class, we can actually make that happen. So I would recommend all of these. Kelly Farrell is requesting an 80%, which means that she's requesting to teach 4 out of 5. And so she's been on that. We haven't had an issue with filling it. The science department has come together to make that happen. The site administration assures me that they can pull this off, so that's why that's on there. Stephen Ransom is our art teacher. He's had a unique situation happen. I saw him today, and I just said, please tell me you're coming back. And he said, no, I am. And it was, please hold my job. So
He loves this job.
He
loves it.
he's just an amazing soul. So
He really is.
if we can pull off a leave of absence when people ask for it, you know, I really want to try and honor that and do that. There will be times when we can't. And what's difficult as a group, I think what we need to become a little bit clear on leave of absence is when. So if it's personal family emergency or a change in a lifestyle or a change in something happening and we can pull it off, then I would say do it. And one of the conundrums that we have is when someone is requesting a leave of absence because they're going to try out a new job. That's a difficult one, and I don't know how to advise you on that because we've done it so many different ways in our district. Some boards have said yes, some boards have said no.
Right.
Some superintendents have said yes, some have said no. So those are the ones that get tricky because as a board, the 5 of you have to make the decision on how you are going to rule together, right? How you're going to govern together.
Well, I think our policy says that they get that 1 year. And then anything after that, then we have to ask, for further. So that's something that if we need to look at again to make it more clear. But right now, I think it says that first year, it's.
Yeah, and we talked about that, recently.
So for the 2 people watching on YouTube, could you really quickly go through what Willie Brown work reduction is?
So it's actually a great program. Do you know what it is, Scott?
No.
Okay, so let me tell you what that is. That is if you are within 8 years of retirement. You say, I want to reduce to 60%. You can't go below 50%. So what the state will recommend is that you become a 55% employee, just a smidgen over 50 as the bare minimum. Because if you drop under that, it is negated. So what Julie's asking is to be a 60% employee. So she only receives 60% of her paycheck, but the district and Julie will pay into her benefits as a full-time employee, into her pension, her STIRS as a full-time employee. So she's not going to get 60% of a service year credit. She's going to get 100% service credrit. So she'll get a full year of service credit, even though she's only working 60%. She has to pay for it. We have to pay for it. But what it does for the employee, it gets them gradually into retirement. And so some employees have done the Willie Brown work reduction to have this sense of what is it going to feel like to live on only 60% of my salary? Because once I retire, that's how much I'm going to get in my pension. And it's a nice way to test out the waters. Can I do it? And it's also a nice way to have some time off and see.
Except you can't go back.
Well, my understanding of it is that you can't go back once you start.
The reduction, once
you
you've
can't
checked
go back
that
to
box.
100%.
Right. But there are some districts who say that you can. So it's a little. It
a legal
always
question.
Changes. It always changes, and I shouldn't say it always changes, but it seems like it always changes. So I'm not in HR to answer that question very specifically. But once you begin Willie Brown, you're supposed to continue with Willie Brown until you retire.
Of course, that's interesting, because you can come out of retirement and start paying back into it.
Well, you can come out of
it's like-
retirement on different levels. You can come out of retirement completely and pay back what you've had. You could come out of retirement partially and make up to $45,000 without any STIRS or PERS penalties. So, is anything ever written in stone in the state of California? I'm going to say no.
No, because laws change every year.
Right. So that's what the Willie Brown is, though. The employee goes on a partial leave. They're still working, but only part-time. But we as a district pay for a full-time retirement benefits and full-time fringe benefits, so full-time medical, dental, and vision. And they pay full-time as well. What is the benefit for the district? The benefit for the district is that if we had to replace Julie with a 40% employee, chances are we would replace Julie with enough of a cost savings from the difference between a higher salary versus a beginning teacher salary. There would be enough cost savings there that Julie would get the benefit and there would be no extra cost to the district.
We have a lot of employees right now on Willie Brown.
Right now, I want to say we have 2. I think we have 2.
One just retired.
One's retiring and one's resigning.
Oh.
Okay. Are there any other questions before anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the certificated staff request leave of absence for the next,
A second.
it says 18, 19, isn't it 19, 20?
For 1920, sorry.
Okay.
And you second, Scott?
Mhm.
Okay, Anna?
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
trustee Mattson,
Yes.
trustee Makala,
Yes.
and trustee Paoli.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
so
cold
that
out there.
Moves us, oh, I'm always warm, so it was
Nope.
okay. All right, so that moves us to 11.3, the resolution 19.5, intern permits for certificated staff and declaration of need for qualified educators.
So this is something that we have to do if we are going to hire anybody on an intern permit or a pre-intern permit. And so we have a few of those, specifically in special ed and some other areas that are difficult to hire. So this is one of those things where we need your approval to say, yes, we need to do this. We submit this to the CTC, the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and we submit it to the county as well.
And if we want to have these positions filled, we need to approve this.
We need to approve this
And we probably will have to do it again.
every year.
Well, I mean, even between now and
Even-
August,
yeah.
because we're
Correct.
still short.
So these are the PIPs,
Mm-hmm.
and does that start this next school year, start the clock of the 3 years to get your,
So it's different. It's not just a blanket 3 years. When you're a
Okay.
pre-intern, you come to the table with the CBEST and a
Mhm.
degree, a college degree in some field of study that's pertinent to the subject matter. So it might be, if you're multiple subject, it's really the CBEST and a degree. If you are going, let's say, for a math position, a degree and a CBEST is not good enough. You have to pass CSETs 1 and 2 to show that you have the qualifications to teach that. Because all CBEST will do for you is it will give you a 30-day emergency credential to be in that classroom for 30 days. And then we just start rotating 30-day people through
for the math and
for the
science?
math.
That's
And
great.
so if you are a pre-intern and you come to the table with a degree and the CBEST, you have your first year as a pre-intern. Then before the next year comes, you need to complete the CSETs and enroll in a program that takes you to year 2 where you can be a short-term staff permit. Then through your college, you can get an intern credential, and that's how those 3 years
Okay.
get extended. If you don't come to the table with that and you come with the CSETs already taken, then you go immediately to a short-term staff permit that gives you 1 year to get to get enrolled in a program and to get the intern credential by the following year. And that was some of the hiccups with some of our interns, is that they needed to complete classes by a certain date. And some couldn't do it until like next October, which is why they requested a leave. There's just different.
Right, each is a little bit unique,
Yes.
depending on what their degree
Yes.
and what they're teaching.
Right.
Thank you, HR, for
Well, and it's
keeping
difficult
track.
because,
Yeah,
you're asking someone to teach full-time and go to school full-time.
it's very difficult.
And they're taking classes, and you're
Yeah.
asking them to pay for it. So.
That's
if-
not cheap.
No, and if you can afford to pay for 1 or 2 classes versus taking 4 classes, well, who wants to take 4 classes at the same time while you're teaching?
Learning
So-
to teach.
Well,
Crazy people. Like,
Right, well, and
Uh-huh.
have a life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a great family. Took care of my kids. Okay. Any other
So-
questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 1905, intern permits for certificated staff and declaration for need for qualified educators.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay. Anna? It's a short one. Sure. We'll
Do
read the
we?
resolution. Thank you.
Oops. I just lost it.
Miss Paoli?
I just lost it.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, see, now mine's not behaving either.
My Chromebook is flawless.
Okay.
As was your binder.
would you
Right.
like me to read?
I have it. Resolution 1905, whereas the governing board must declare the district's need for fully qualified educators based on the previous year's actual need and projections of enrollment, and whereas the governing board must submit the declaration of need to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing annually in anticipation of the need to hire individuals who are either scheduled to complete initial preparation requirements within 6 months or candidates who are qualified to participate in an approved internship program in the region of the district. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board, by submitting this resolution, is certifying there are insufficient number of certificated persons who meet the district's employment needs, adopted today.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
trustee Mattson,
Yes.
trustee Paioli,
Yes.
president Babcock,
Yes.
and trustee Merkler.
Yes.
Okay. So 11.4, which is Resolution 1906 for budget transfers. We do this every year. It's part of
Accounting.
Mhm. So is there anything you want to share, Wendy?
No, it's, again, like you said, we do these every year to basically give the business office permission to do the things they need to do to
Balance.
put the budget together and close the books.
I'll make a motion. We approve item 11.4, resolution 19-06, budget transfers.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Ms. Paoli, will you read resolution?
Do we vote first or no?
No.
I read it first? Okay. Whereas the Fort Bragg Unified School District will need to make year-end budget transfers, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bragg Unified School District authorizes the chief business official or superintendent to make such transfers as may be needed. Passed and adopted this 13th day of June, 2019 by the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bragg Unified School District by the following vote.
Trustee Merkler,
Yes.
trustee Paioli,
Yes.
president Babcock,
Yes.
trustee Mattson,
Yes.
and trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, 19.7, wait,
Five.
sorry, 11.5, resolution 1907.
There we go.
Again, another one of these.
Right, this gives the business office permission to move things between funds, so if we need to make a transfer from the general fund to the cafeteria fund, or moving the reserve from the general fund into a special reserve fund, those types of transfers.
So I move to approve the resolution 1907, authorization for 2018-19 interfund transfers.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Do you ever make a list of all these transfers you make, or is it just internal?
I can provide you a list if you ever want to see
Well,
them. I mean,
you
they generally, I don't present that much detail. You pretty much have approved anything like that happening by approving the budget, so you're basically approving the transfer to, from the general fund to the cafeteria fund to cover the costs there.
Okay.
You approved re-establishing the reserve fund, so now this is just the mechanics of giving you
Moving
permission
stuff.
to make that interfund transfer.
So we're not talking lists of like dozens and dozens
No,
of
no,
transfers.
and actually, they're spelled out in the unrestricted section on the last page of the unrestricted section at the bottom, interfund transfers, and
Mhm.
I've got anything listed there that we're planning to do.
Okay.
So
The big ones, yeah, big stuff.
Anything,
Any of
anything.
them.
I mean, any kind of an interfund transfer that goes from the general fund to any place or comes in from any place else. So for instance, for 18-19, there was a final $186,000 transfer
Mhm.
from the special reserve fund to the general fund to make the final payment on the district-wide wireless project. So all of those are identified throughout the
Okay.
year, and there are generally not many of them. It's always cleaner if you're not doing many of those.
Right.
If you're doing a lot of interfund transfers, you're probably
Bigger
got some
issues.
issues someplace.
And I'm more asking because it kind of looks like we're just like giving you authority to do all these transfers and just
Yeah,
for the
it's
people
not
watching
so.
or
Yeah,
listening that
I mean, it's not so much. giving me authority to do the specific ones. It's giving me authority to mechanically move the money that you've already approved,
Right, okay.
Mhm,
basically.
Right, and every district has these
Yes.
resolutions. If you peek around, they are using the same terminology, so it's practice.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
You gonna read it or you wanna vote first?
Well, I'm sorry, I lost where we were.
So
Do we have a motion on the
We have
floor?
a motion and a
Thank
second.
you.
We have a motion, so I guess I
Motion
could
and a
So
second.
now, any discussion? Well, we have the one
That was
question.
it.
Any further discussion?
Right.
Sorry, I got a little lost in. Okay.
So whereas the Fort Bragg Unified School District will need to transfer money between funds, whereas the Fort Bragg Unified School District has the need to transfer revenues and expenditures between funds, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bragg Unified School District authorizes the Chief Business Officer or Superintendent to make such transfers as needed. Passed and adopted this 13th day of June, Board of Trustees. Okay, the following vote.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Matlow?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes,
Trustee Adcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Henry?
Yes.
Okay, 19-9. Oh, wait.
So this next one, the interfund temporary cash transfers, this happens when sometimes a resource that's a self-balancing group of funds will be waiting for money from the state. And in order to balance that resource, we will transfer some general fund money or some unrestricted money into it and show it as basically due to, due from the unrestricted to the restricted side. And that's what gives me permission to do that when necessary. And it happens, it happens mostly very close to when we close the books, because the county says we are closing June cash as of August 1st. Well, books don't get closed until September. So we are not allowed then to do those cash transfers to move the money around between resources. So we have to do a due to and a due from to make the cash balance out inside those resources that have to be balanced.
Any questions?
And one of the most common ones of those is the cafeteria fund, because we don't know until almost the last minute exactly what that number is that we're moving from one to the other. And so at that point, it's too late to actually move the cash, so we show it as a due to and a due from.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 19-08, interfund temporary cash transfers.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm just looking, this is what threw me up, so. this
The
should be
numbers.
here.
Should be 1908.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the document, it's actually anyway, it's fine. Just, all right. And a second?
I did.
Okay,
Mary.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, any discussion? All right, this one's a little bit longer, but we'll
Well.
keep with the trend.
Whereas the Fort Bragg Unified School District General Fund may experience temporary cash flow needs, whereas Fort Bragg Unified School District has other funds available to provide temporary transfers to the general fund. Whereas Education Code Section 42603 states the governing board of any school district may direct that monies held in any fund or account may be temporarily transferred to another fund or account of the district for payment of obligations. The transfer shall be accounted for as temporary borrowing between funds or accounts and shall not be available for appropriation or be considered income to the borrowing fund or account. Accounts transferred shall be repaid either in the same fiscal year or in the following fiscal year if the transfer takes place within the final 120 calendar days of a fiscal year, or in the flowing fiscal year if the transfer takes place within the final 120 calendar calendar days of the fiscal year. Borrowing shall occur only when the funds or account receiving the money will earn sufficient income during the current fiscal year to repay the amount transferred. No more than 75% of the maximum of monies held in any fund or account during the current fiscal year may be transferred. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bragg Unified School District authorizes such transfers as may be needed to facilitate cash flow, passed and adopted this date.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee McCullough?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
And President Babcock?
Yes. Now we're on to 11.9, which happens to be, sorry,
11.7.
11.7. I need some sleep, I think. Okay. All right, so we're on to the bylaws for NCSIG, or the Northern California School Insurance Group. And I believe I remember this happening.
They'll, anytime they change anything in the bylaws, or sometimes they're changing the self-insurance carrier or the stop-loss carrier, because we are a member of the JPA, each member has to vote to approve any changes to the bylaws. This one has to do with the assignment of a designated alternate to be able to act on behalf of the entity, of the education entity. For instance, our JPA, for Staywell, we have a classified certificate and confidential, or admin. The workers' comp insurance pool, we have a me and an alternate. If I can't make it, somebody else can go act. This is just establishing their process for doing that.
Any questions?
No, if anyone wants to read the change, it's on page 4 of the actual document under section D. So it's in blue. So it's a very minor change.
Okay.
I move to approve the resolution 1909 to amend bylaws of the Northern California Schools Insurance Group.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, Diana, do you want to read the?
Whereas Fort Bragg Unified School District is a member of the Northern California School Insurance Group, and the NCSIG Board of Directors reviewed and approved the proposed amendment to the bylaws of the NCSIG on May 22nd, 2019. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bragg Unified School District hereby approves the amendments to the NCSIG bylaws amended and restated dated May 22nd, 2019, passed and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Fort Bragg Unified School District this date.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
Trustee McCullough?
Yes.
And Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Okay, so 11.8, we've done the calendar, so this was just to add in the minimum days, correct?
Yes, this is just to give you an idea of where the minimum days are so we could publish this. We've had the calendar online since November.
Yeah, exactly.
So that everybody knew where the breaks were. So now this is about making sure everyone knows where the early release days are. There are only a few noted changes in here. I don't know if you've noticed them. September, everyone is even Stevens, all the same. Everyone is all the same in October.
Mm-hmm.
In November, we have different early release days for Redwood and Dana Gray because of parent conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you see a string of days there for Redwood and Dana Gray, and it's only the Wednesdays for the middle school and high school. In December, Redwood and Dana Gray stick to the Wednesdays, but at the end of, right before the break, the middle school and the high school are going to have a finals week. So this year, the middle school has opted to end their semester in line with the high school. So everyone will end their semester on the 19th of December. So that's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's a difference in December. In January, everyone is the same. In February, everyone is the same, all on Wednesdays. March, everyone is the same. In April, we have an addition of an early release day for the middle school and high school, and it's on April 3rd, and that's because the high school hosts Spring Carnival for Redwood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. And then
And that
in,
just puts the buses for the middle school, is that what?
just for, well, in order for the high school to have an ER day that's different from the rest of the district, we have to clump 2 schools together, or it's too hard to do all the bus runs. So we can't just do the bus run for the high school. So the high school and middle school are attached to the HIP.
So they'll have their ER day on Friday instead of Wednesday that week.
No,
Oh, they'll have
Wednesday
Wednesday
and
and
Friday.
Friday.
So
Oh,
if you
okay.
look at the 2 lines, you'll see it's April 1st and
Oh,
April
yeah.
3rd.
Which I think that happened this
This
year,
happened
and
this
that's why
year.
it was a hiccup when people thought, why do I have an extra? And then we
Right.
had one less last week of school, which
Correct.
was felt at the high school, I know, because they were saying, Tuesday should be a half day, or ER day. Okay.
And then the other, if we
Is
go
the senior
into
boards.
May, the extra day is for senior boards on the 28th. And I'm just going to do a quick count here to make sure.
'Cause that's in
1, 2,
purple.
3.
Mhm.
So it notes that the color coding on April 1st is incorrect.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
It's
24,
green.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 30, right. Okay, so let's go back and let's switch. On April 1st, the high school and middle school will not have an ER day on
Okay, I
that
wondered
Wednesday,
why that was
correct?
green.
Or is it the okay, so here's my question before we bring this to approval. Is it the 27th of May that they're giving up, or is it April 1st that they're giving up? Laura, do you remember that conversation? Okay, so, and I'm sorry, this is my fault. I should have checked it one more time before it went in.
We've got next in 2 weeks.
As-
May, it's like we have Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday's a full day. I just looked at this week.
Okay, I'm going to ask that we table this until the 27th,
Just to be safe.
because we have 40 ER days for the middle school and high school, and it can only be 39.
39, right.
That first is just supposed to be regular meeting.
Or it can be the 27th of May.
So since I'm not here next week, can I put in my 2 cents?
I know, but they already have the first, too. Do you see what I mean? The high school and middle school either have to give up April 1st, or they have to give
Give
up
up the
May 27th.
Right, because you,
And it is nice for the seniors, only the seniors, to have a half day on the 27th because they're preparing for their boards.
And I think that actually
That was
is
the
what it's
cons-
supposed to be.
Or, see, and I thought the conversation was that they were going to give up potentially December 17th and do finals over 2 days
Oh.
in winter so that they could keep April 1st. Because what's difficult is that if you take away a Wednesday, when it's always a Wednesday, that immediately
it
causes
wonkies,
confusion.
yeah.
So let's table this
Okay.
until the 27th,
Because what we had said is we would just do what worked for the high school.
Mm-hmm.
but we have too many here.
And
So
you did
we either,
finals over 2 days this time.
they did finals over
And
2
it
days
worked
this time.
fine, What I heard.
I think it worked. How'd it work for you, Nate, to have finals on that
Friday.
Tuesday, on a full day?
Oh, on a full day.
That was a bit weird, but it worked.
You weren't overly burdened.
Okay, so either the middle school and high school have to either give up December 17th. I would prefer them not to give up a Wednesday because I think that just breeds confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Or they give up, and I don't think they're going to give up April 3rd. That's because of, or they give up the 28th. So let me talk with Laura, Jamie, and Bruce, and we'll finalize this, and we'll bring this back on the 27th of June. Sorry about that. My fault.
I love the little cap, it's very cute.
Yeah,
I don't know how
that-
you
that
figured
is.
that out,
Santa.
but
It is very sweet.
it's very cute.
I had to put my glasses on to see that it was a cap, but once
I thought it was
did-
I thought it looked like a, like a bug when you don't have your glasses. What is that?
See, I just increased my screen by like 800%.
Okay, so that takes care of our board actions. We'll table the early release days to next meeting. Okay, any information and discussion items for this evening? I think we've got a couple things that Diana brought up that we may be discussing next month, correct? Or next
I think
meeting.
we decided on July 24th being our board workshop to discuss masters in governance, possibly vision and mission. I know we still need to possibly approve some master in governance training. And there were some other, we want to get our community parent advisory committee going, LCAP development. There's lots
So we'll
to
talk
come.
about
And
that next Wednesday at agenda
food
setting.
services for Three Rivers, lots of things.
So just as a reminder, because I won't be here next week, if you do approve the CSBA MIG workshops, if we pay for them before the 1st of July, they're cheaper. Price goes up.
Requires an action item.
It doesn't,
I
just
think you guys
discussion.
just have to agree to do it. I don't think
Right.
it has to be like on the agenda or anything. I mean, you've already given direction as to what you want your budget to be for the year, so I think
We're
it's
within
just
our-
amongst you to decide, not an actual item.
Can I add in some other information and discussion?
Yes.
I had a conversation with Tabitha Miller, the city manager, today regarding the emergency the emergency preparedness meeting that's happening tomorrow in Town Hall. I will be representing the school district at that meeting. It starts at 5:30 tomorrow. It's in Town Hall. There's going to be a short time for a discussion and information, and then a short time for questions and comments and answers. When I was able to speak with Tabitha today, one of the things that we're looking at is having a joint meeting with the school district, the city, chief of police, fire chief. So we do kind of a first responder, Fort Bragg, proper city, emergency preparedness kind of meeting for planning. Because if, let's say, for instance, heaven forbid, we have a huge earthquake, we have a 10.0, 9.0 earthquake, the school district becomes the shelters. Redwood multipurpose room, Dana Gray multipurpose room, Fort Bragg Middle School gym, Fort Bragg High School gym, we become the shelters. And so what happens if that occurs? What do we do if we have no cell service and no phones? How do we convene? Well, and that's one of the things that Tabitha and I want to discuss with our city chiefs with, okay, the big one hits, where do we convene? How do we get together? How do we mobilize our resources? And looking at some of the things at our sites. We talked about 5 years ago, if anybody remembers, about having an emergency meeting and getting actual storage containers at each of the sites to house enough food and water to kind of get us by on non-perishable things that we could have, and then replenish that, every 2 years. And so we had talked about that. I shared that with Tabitha a little bit, and she was very open to having that discussion. We are looking at having some kind of a city joint meeting on Monday, July 29th. We just roughly looked at our calendars and said, when is everybody coming back? We felt like the summer was a better time to do that instead of when the beginning of the year happens, because what we say is, it's the beginning of the year, we're too busy. So we're looking at July 29th, hosting a meeting with opening it up for community. You had asked me to prepare an emergency preparedness meeting anyway, so when I was on the phone with Tabitha, it was a perfect time to do that. So we're looking at the 29th. The two times we threw out was 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., either in the morning or in the afternoon. So if you have a preference, if anybody wants to attend, that's
So
what
Mary, that was, right, was that your one you wanted to be on?
So we didn't check
We
with
can't
any
have
of your
two.
calendars,
We can only have two go.
or we hold or we call a special meeting.
Do you have your calendar with you, Mary?
I'm actually here that day. I know without looking. I'm not here the next day.
Oh.
And it wasn't going to be anything long or drawn out. It was
Oh, we
really
have
just
agenda
to
setting that day, too.
start the conversation of what this looks like and what we can do as a school district and as a city.
Great.
So that's officially, almost unofficially on the books.
And we're going to host it at Fort Bragg Unified.
We are probably either going to host it in the high school library or in this room.
Either time works for me, you let me know.
Okay.
And who is another person gonna, from the
I
board?
think I'm actually out of town.
It's not a great day for me. That's the day we prep to leave for the fair. But if I need to, I will be the second person.
I can be the second person too,
Okay.
if you want a second person.
That's up to the board.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I rewrote the city's plan.
Pardon?
I rewrote the city's emergency action plan
Okay,
Oh.
last year, so.
feel free to join.
Get hard.
Okay, anything else? Am I good in order? Okay, so it kind of goes into advanced planning. We've got some things on the books. We're going to meet next month to do a couple things. That'll all be agendized and publicized ahead of time. It's mainly just going to be a workshop for us to kind of review where we've been and where we're going. And then housekeeping, we have reminders. We're here Thursday, the 27th for a regular meeting. And
There's no closed session, nothing early on the 27th.
no, I think we plan on
6 o'clock.
being
6?
here at 5 for now. I don't know. It's really if Becky needs closed session. Well, no, I think we're gonna have to finish,
On the
yeah.
27th?
I mean, we might be able to do it at 5:30.
Do you want to do 5:30?
Well, we'll have to, let's wait till we meet Wednesday.
Okay.
Because we have to get some things back from Nancy and, okay.
Who's on the agenda today?
Diana and I,
Okay.
yeah, it got moved to Wednesday. Monday, July 8th, the online registration opens with Aries. That was on the letter that Diana showed. Site offices are open now till the 21st, correct? I saw that on something.
Right.
And then they
exactly.
open up back on August 1st.
Well, the 21st is the last day.
Was whatever for,
Next Friday, yes.
Huh?
Yes.
So early. And August 6th is our registration day. Everybody put that on their calendar. And the web dates got put out. Let's just give a shout out for that. So web is on, that's for incoming 6th graders. That is on August 6th or August 13th. That just make sure you families, if anybody's listening, because don't go school clothes shopping is not something to miss.
Yeah.
And then I just got the information today that the link day or 9th grade orientation is on Friday, the 9th, from 10 to 1:30. So don't go school clothes shopping on those days either. Check your mailbox. That's all in your info.
So August 9th, the Friday?
Yes.
And you have a
For
speaker
link.
coming this year?
So August 9th, we have a speaker coming. I was a little disappointed to hear that freshman orientation was the day of our speaker. So we're going to lose out on some staff there. I've asked Jamie and Bruce to make sure that our freshman orientation doesn't happen on the 3 teacher duty days when we return, so that our staff they don't miss out on what we're doing. But freshman orientation is hugely important, especially because of how Link Crew does it. It is a magnificent event. The kids will have a wonderful time, and the teachers do an amazing job of putting together this great day for our freshmen. So they are absolutely are in good hands and will do a great job. We do have a speaker coming on August 9th. Her name is Julie Adams. She's quite wonderful. She's going to be talking to our staff just about how we work with kids and how we need to meet their needs. There is a book that she's co-authored called Fully Charged that the administrative team will be reading and blogging about this summer. So that's one of our book reads. And then the other book that the admin are reading is Cultures Built to Last. So we've got some work cut out for us on the administrative team this summer. We're excited to bring in Julie Adams. She is going to be with us 3 times next year. So she's going to start with us in August to give us a little bit of food for thought and things to work on in our endeavors with children. And then she'll return to us in October to touch base to see how that food was percolating and how things were going. And then she'll return to us again in March to help us close out our year. So it won't be something that is just a one-stop shop. It'll be something that we will revisit 2 more times.
Great. What was the second book that you said?
We're
you were
reading Cultures Built to Last.
Cultures.
And if you would like to attend on August 9th, you'll have a great time. She's a really wonderful speaker and makes
time?
you just kind of go, okay. We will start at 8 a.m. and then we will break for lunch at 12:30, and Pilar and her group will give us another great potato bar. So we'll have baked potatoes so we do that for the staff. And then at 1:15, we're going to do some kind of a session. And I say some kind of session because we have so many things that we want to do, but we have to narrow it down to one. So we're not sure if we're going to do it by site, if we're going to give teachers the opportunity to choose if they want to do something, but it'll be from 1:15 to 3 o'clock, so it'll be an hour and 45 minutes of either one informational class or one tech class where you learn and then you make it, kind of like your web page or Google Classroom. But we also have some other things that we need to do in K-5. So we are tuning out those fine details, and then at 3 o'clock, we give FBDTA a half hour to meet with all their new members, and that's in the contract. So we do that on that whole district day. We will also have American Fidelity out on August 8th and 9th for any of our new hires. If they need to come in and sign up for the cafeteria plan so that they can have their medical benefits come out pre-tax, if they want to sign up for extra insurance or benefits that American Fidelity offers. So American Fidelity, Mike Whittingham will return on August 8th and 9th.
Okay.
The 9th is going to be a busy day.
9th will be a busy day.
Those whole 2 weeks will be busy. I mean.
Yeah. It's the beginning and the end,
Yeah.
always.
Okay, and then, so the teachers report on the 7th, and then our meeting will be on the 8th. Okay. But our next meeting is on the 27th.
Right, and school starts on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
First day of school.
So can you talk about the board training on the 27th in the fall? No.
What do you
Okay.
mean talk about it as in?
Just,
It needs to be approved by the board. So a couple of board members have asked to attend MIG. And so you
I
specifically.
thought he was talking about the agenda for the I'm sorry.
You're talking about MIG,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Oh, I thought
Sorry.
you
Yeah.
said.
No,
I was
on
talking
the
about
on the
workshop.
27th,
Yeah,
that'll
me
be a
too.
board action.
okay.
So on the 27th, we're gonna.
Wendy says it
No?
doesn't need to be an
No, no,
action
no.
item.
But
No.
the board specifically said that they needed to approve.
Well,
They
that's,
need to amongst
yeah.
themselves
Oh.
decide how they want
which
to
we,
spend.
which we kind of said, we don't know what that number is. We want to make sure that we're aware of what is being spent and that we want to be mindful of that. And I think that there isn't really a line item for us, but,
$7,500 figure
Right.
for conference and travel.
right, and that we don't necessarily want to use that every year, but we want to make sure that we're not going over it. So I think that we're fine to,
It's in July, you won't have
Used any of it yet.
right,
So.
And that's a year we're not going to the annual conference.
right, because it's in San
Because
Diego,
it's in San Diego.
Right.
right.
So this year is not
And I don't think we even went through 7,500 last year, so I think.
with the conference.
Even with it, I
Right.
don't think we went over. So I
Well, but
think-
half of us didn't go last year.
Right.
So
I think
I
it's
would like to attend, this is MIG 1 and 2
Mhm.
that's coming up.
Mhm.
And so I would like to attend with Mary and Scott because I haven't done any of it
Yeah, I
yet.
think that's great.
So I'd love it if the three of us could go and do that. We could take the Happy Minivan. It would be
Yes.
Loads of fun. Or you could take your own car.
or I could drive you.
Or,
What's the back
You mean the
seat
car
like?
will
Because I
drive
know
you.
that's where
Yeah,
I'd be.
the car could drive us.
okay. I have a 38-inch inseam, so I'm.
I know I'd be in the
We need
back
some
seat. I was
space.
kidding.
36, that's Mitchell. So I would like to be able to attend MIG with Mary. and
I think
Scott.
that's great. I support you three
Mhm.
going.
And what are the dates?
Santa Rosa, I don't know.
It's like
October, the fall.
the,
Great.
The
so it's-
early
okay, So it's the
teens.
fall. Someone said
It's
July.
in
right?
October, I
Okay,
think.
Great.
We
I-
save money if we
it's
register
September. I
by
think it's
July.
September
Right.
12th and 13th.
Perfect.
Or
And
the
it is-
19th and 20th. It's one of those two.
Now, one of those is going to back up to a board meeting.
It's not with the board meeting.
Okay,
So-
because the board meeting's on Boonville Fair, which I think is the 12th. Which it's always such a conflict for me, but,
We'll figure out the dates and we'll have that as information
Where are
on
we?
the next board agenda. Will that work?
yeah, so it must be the 19th.
I did, I know it's not, yeah, it is not the same.
You guys don't have to leave it, or after the board meeting.
Oh.
Luckily, you're
that's
only
rough.
in Santa Rosa, but
It's only Sarah.
there'd be no traffic.
Hmm.
So, yes.
Okay.
Are we good?
I think so.
move to adjourn.
And a
Yes.
second?
Second.
Yes, it's always me.
All right, we'll adjourn at 8:11.